Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, a free site, bettingangle.us, a free site. Let's talk the NBA playoffs. But first, remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now forget the calendar, right? Just forget it for a second. And today is April the 22nd. But just forget the playoff calendar right now. I'm just telling you, one man's opinion here, that the NBA Finals is going to take place in the second round of the NBA playoffs. The playoff series features the Golden State Warriors, who have home court advantage, against the Houston Rockets. Now, barring injury, right, unless KD runs into, Steph Curry and they're knocked out for the remaining of the playoffs, or unless Clint Capella runs into James Harden and they're knocked out, if the winner of this series survives with their health intact, I don't see a team in the remainder of the NBA who can beat them, who can stop them on their way to a title. Now understand the history of these two teams. Last year, Houston was the top seed in the West. They met the defending champion Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, which really were, last year, the NBA Finals. Right? Understand, the winner of Golden State Houston would go on to sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers. Right? Sweep them. Well, understand, in the series, Golden State came out and won Game 1. They won Game 1. Over the next 4 games, the Houston Rockets won 3 of them. Houston was up 3-2. Only needed to get one more win to beat Golden State. Houston lost Game 6. At home, Game 7, right? Chris Paul blows out a hamstring. At home, for Game 7, Houston was up at halftime on Golden State. The teams match up well. You have arguably the league's best player, Kevin Durant. You have arguably this year's MVP, James Harden. You have a bevy of three-point shooters. You have 2 coaches, Steve Kerr and Mike D'Antoni, who want their guys to shoot threes. You have excellent role players all over the place. The secret to Golden State is that when they're uninspired, they play bad basketball. But when they're inspired, they can come back on the OKC Thunder when they were down in a playoff series the year before this one, right? They were able to come back on Houston in the second half of Game 7. The secret to Houston is they've been on a roll now for several weeks. The team was injured early. Clint Capella came back. The team started to click. The chemistry is there right now. So, before these teams officially close out their round 1 opponents, I believe a bet hedge presents itself right now on NBA futures. Right? Golden State minus 200. Right? Terrible odds if you think about it. Bet 200 to win 100. Right? They're telling you that Golden State, in terms of 3 possible outcomes, winning the NBA championship, not the series, Golden State, in 3 outcomes, wins the ring in 2 of the 3. Right? That's what a minus 200 is. The rest of the league wins 1, Golden State wins 2. The odds on Houston are a plus 650. Bet 100, win 650, plus the return of your 100. The spread is the bet to make. Take both. You can shift the risk a little bit since you're getting such huge odds on Houston to bet a little bit more on Golden State. But the point is this: don't wait until the outcome of this series. Let's be real. There is no team out west, certainly not Denver, right? There's no team out west that, in my opinion, has a chance to beat either of these two teams. I know Portland's looking good right now. I know Portland picked up Enes Kanter, right? Portland just doesn't have the depth to deal with either Houston or Golden State. Whoever wins this series, again, assuming nobody goes down like Boogie Cousins just went down. Understand how deep Golden State is too. Kevin Looney is there. He actually has a better plus minus on the season, believe it or not, than Boogie Cousins. They also reacquired former first pick of the draft Andrew Bogut. So Golden State, with all the shooters, still has size. I want you to investigate that last box score carefully. Steph had a poor shooting night. Klay Thompson had something like 1 rebound and no assists. Something like that. Kevin Durant was Kevin Durant. Golden State won their game on the road going away. That's how deep the team is. Now, for some reason, they don't match up with Houston. Houston's about the only team in the league that's left that looks like they could give Golden State a run for the money. Understand, if Houston gets by Golden State, you're not going to come close to getting a plus 650 on the Houston side of the ledger. Understand, too, Houston in the playoffs has shown an ability to win on the road, having won in Utah. Right? Harden, as good a scorer as he is, and he's the scoring champion for this past year, as good a scorer as he is, he's averaging 10 assists a game in the playoffs. 10. Right? So my point to you is simply this. I know there are a lot of new, intriguing teams out there. I get that Tobias Harris is a Philadelphia 76er. I myself think Philly has a great shot to come out of the East. Right? And I understand there's a certain newness to Toronto with Kawhi Leonard. Right? I get it. And of course, every basketball fan I know loves Milwaukee. Milwaukee, on paper, spectacular defense. Right? They love Milwaukee. And of course, you have the crowd that says, look, if Kyrie Irving wasn't hurt for Game 7 last year, we beat Cleveland. We're deep. We would have given Golden State a run for the money. Right? I get it. None of these Eastern teams have any clue how tough it is to come out of the West. Right? The Western Conference is still pro ball. The Eastern Conference is still AAA ball. There's no team in the East, in my opinion, that would be able to handle Golden State's A game or Houston's A game. Again, understand, Kevin Durant has been with Golden State for 2 years. During that 2-year period, Golden State's won 8 finals games and has lost 1. So, this second round of the playoffs is for all the marbles. Understand, Houston's a bit lucky. Last year, James Harden looked a little tired in playing Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. Right, this year he gets to play them in the second round. Less wear on the tires. Understand, Golden State, the farther you are away from your first NBA championship, the more lackadaisical guys get. There's a rumor in the Bay Area of Kevin Durant wanting to leave. Right, as it is, Golden State, the team, is leaving the East Bay. They're going to be playing at the Chase Center in San Francisco next year. Right, people are distracted. Someone figured out the other day that Boogie Cousins really can't re-sign with the team because of the CBA agreement. You've even had a player do room charges to a coach's card. In other words, there's some real dysfunction in Golden State right now. Maybe they're not as sharp as they should be against Houston, a team that's hungry and that's not going to give them the margin for error that they've had against other teams. So expect a spirited second round of the playoffs. I just want the gamblers here to this site to consider the possibility that what you're actually watching is the NBA championship. Right? If Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, Clint Capella, Chris Paul, James Harden, if they're healthy and they beat Golden State, and they stay healthy, Chris Paul doesn't blow out a hamstring, Clint Capella doesn't have an injury, there's nobody who can beat the Houston Rockets. Right? Daryl Morey in interviews, when asked what's his top goal, says beat Golden State. Right? Houston knows who they have to beat. And of course, let's face it, Golden State is the team of our time. Right? It's absurd how many 40% from three shooters the team has. It's so ridiculous, folks, that I believe even the head coach is a career 40% from three guy. Right? This is the finest shooting team I have seen, and I've been watching basketball for a hell of a long time. Right? Klay Thompson the other night goes out. 9 3-point attempts. Hit 6. KD, same game. 50% from 3. So even though Curry, the record holder for the most threes in a season, was off, the team cruised. Right? Also, look at the free throw percentages for Golden State. Right? Curry, Durant, Klay Thompson. My goodness, who do you foul late in the game? Do you really think you're going to have a shot at fouling Andrew Bogut, that he's going to have the ball if you need to foul to send a guy to the line? Right? So these are the two best teams. They're going to face off in the second round of the playoffs. You want to set it up so you have money on both, on NBA futures. Be a patient bettor. Understand, mathematically, someone has to win the series. I'm just telling you, of all the teams out there, none of them in the last 2 seasons have pushed the Golden State Warriors as hard as the Houston Rockets did in last year's playoffs. None of them. The hedge I'm recommending is Golden State minus 200, hedged with Houston at plus 650. right? Work it out so that you're in a great position regardless of who wins. In other words, you don't need the full plus 650 on Houston. You can bet more on Golden State to even out the play. The point is to end up with a positive EV, expected value. Okay, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you if you feel, and I know there's a lot of hype out there, and I know there are a lot of tribes out there, and I know Damian Lillard looks spectacular. CJ McCollum has looked spectacular. I understand. The first round isn't over. People in in Utah still think they have a shot and stuff like that. I get it. Right? If you feel there's another team out there that can beat either of these two teams, whether it's in the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference, then go ahead and leave that information in the comment section of this video. Right? As much as I like Kyrie Irving and Jason Tatum, and as much as I like the three-point shooting capability of Al Horford, who presents matchup problems for centers, and as much as I like the depth of the Boston Celtics, and I noticed Gordon Hayward had a good game the other day, I'm not sure if Boston makes it out of the East. Philly, let's face it, these guys are in their freshman year together. Jimmy Butler's just figuring his way around town. Tobias Harris got there after him. Right? Joel Embiid's knee is doing what Joel Embiid's knee does this time of year. It's barking at him. He's not playing in every game in the playoffs, folks. Ben Simmons, multiple years in, still doesn't have a three-point shot. Right? Is a liability shooting outside. Philly, all the talent in the world, young talent. In the playoffs, you need seamless talent. When I say KD, Curry, Clay, Draymond, folks, I've just named 4 players on the same page. There's no Russell Westbrook in that group. Nobody on Golden State's going to shoot the team out of playoff games. Let me say the same thing for Houston. Right? James Harden, as dominant a scorer as he is a dominant passer on a team with Chris Paul, who's a dominant passer. Right? Eric Gordon's won an NBA three-point contest. Right? At the All-Star break. Eric Gordon's a guy who on a given night can hit 5 or 6 threes and carry the team. You're not going to find better efficiency than Clint Capella. There's simply a talent gap, and it's a wide talent gap between Houston and the rest of the league, but for Golden State. And I mean a talent gap of seamless teams. Teams where the guys actually know each other. Not where, again, it's freshman year and you're trying to figure out who's in your class. Right? So all I'm saying is, get a taste of Golden State and Houston right here. Golden State has the home court. But Golden State's been a little bit more up and down, has a little bit more variance than prior years. Right? Houston is hungry. Houston, quite frankly, feels privately that they gave away last year's playoffs. Right? The winner of that series, I don't believe is going to be stopped. Let me also say this about Milwaukee. You know, the NBA championship is the kind of thing where you can't go from 0 to 60. Right? You can't be a team that barely got into the playoffs and then suddenly be there hoisting the trophy at the end of it, especially not with these sharks in the water. Now, Milwaukee last year was something like a 7th seed. I know they're playing inspired ball and stuff like that. But wow, you really think they're going to be able to get by a team like Golden State that's won 3 of the last 4 rings? Or a team like Houston that last year was number 1 in the Western Conference, the difficult conference, and that this year has a player who statistically has been more dominant in James Harden than even Giannis. Right? So I like the winner of Houston versus Golden State, assuming guys are healthy, assuming you don't get another boogie situation. I'll agree, my analysis goes up in smoke. If Kevin Durant suddenly grabs his leg, falls to the floor, then we hear he's out for the playoffs. Right? If these guys survive and are healthy and stay healthy the rest of the playoffs, whoever wins this series between Houston and Golden State, in my opinion, wins the NBA championship. That's how I see it. That's how I'm betting it on NBA futures. We'll update this as time goes by. If things change, developments arise, we'll be back here online. But just like I picked the New England Patriots to win the Super Bowl with several weeks left in the season, and most people flocking around the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I feel here you're getting convincing value on this era's most dominant team, Golden State, and on their biggest rival, Houston. That's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section of this video. Let me just point out too, these are 2 of the most analytically based teams in the NBA. Right? They're simply ahead of the curve. Other teams are trying to catch up. It's very hard to find 3-point shooters. Very hard. As good as Eric Gordon, James Harden, Steph, Kevin Durant. Right? Very hard. It's also very hard to find coaches as innovative as Steve Kerr and Mike D'Antoni. Right? You have superstars here. MVPs. Harden's already won an MVP. I think he wins another this year. Steph Curry has won MVPs. Kevin Durant's won an MVP. Right? Neither team has time for the kind of BS drama that you have with the Lakers. There's no superstar on either team who thinks he can say, hey, I want the coach fired, and then start naming guys who he wants to have join him on the team. Right? You don't have that level of dysfunction. I think that gives these 2 teams an edge over most in the league. Let me go cough off camera here. I think it's worth a look. I like Houston and Golden State. I believe now's the time, if you haven't already, to make a futures bet on both. I think the winner of this series wins the NBA championship. Thanks for stopping by.